So, I couldn't exactly find too much background information on the book we're covering today. All I could tell you is that in 1999, Dark Horse Comics approached writer Peter David with a concept about a teenage spy, because in 1999 that storytelling trope wasn't exactly well worn yet.
David was well suited for this concept at the time because he was working on the DC Comics title Young Justice, which revolved around the teen sidekicks of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman teaming up alongside several other heroes. David also had well-acclaimed runs on The Incredible Hulk, X-Factor, and Supergirl.
I know I'm barely scratching the surface on the contributions Mr. David has made throughout his career, but the fact of the matter is I'm trying to save a little bit for when we cover something else that he worked a little bit on.
Joining David to provide artwork was Thai artist Pop Mahan. Mahan was best known for works like Ghost Rider, Batgirl, and even some comics based on the Gears of War video game franchise.
Today we're looking at the first 3 issues of this series, which comprise of a story arc known as the Deadly Gourmet Affair. This is SpyBoy Volume 1.
In a large kitchen, a man is brought before the deadly international crime boss known as the Gourmet. The Gourmet is looking for information on an individual known as SpyBoy and attempts to torture it out of his hostage by pouring bacon grease on the man. It doesn't work and the man dies, but it doesn't really matter as he was just an appetizer. Meanwhile, young Alex Fleming gets beat up by his school's bully, Schweitzer, over a girl named Lori. Lori had been flirting with Alex, and Schweitzer only sees girls as possessions. Alex knows he can easily take down both Schweitzer and his gang, but knows it's best to just take the swirly instead. Alex goes home and complains to his father, Sean, and grandfather, George. Sean doesn't want Alex getting involved, as it's not a secret that Schweitzer is also a drug dealer in the town. Alex storms off to his room, as George points out that the kid isn't little anymore, and he will need to spread his wings eventually. From his room, Alex spots an attractive young woman looking into his window before literally hopping onto a milk truck. He then tries to do his homework, only to be interrupted by a large explosion. The incident has left Alex feeling so uneasy that it carries over to the next day at school. One of Alex's teachers sends him to the nurse's office, but he opts to just leave and head home. It's then that a utility worker calls him SpyBoy, which triggers something.
Yes, in reality, Alex Fleming is a sleeper agent codenamed SpyBoy, with his cover being that he's an epileptic. The girl from earlier is codenamed Bombshell, and both are agents for the Secret Headquarters International Reconnaissance, Tactics, and Spies, or SHIRTS. Their opposing organization is the Supreme Killing Institute, or SKINS. Do you get it?
SpyBoy makes his way to a cave where he loads up on gear and a motorcycle. From there, it's off to a junkyard where Schweitzer is meeting up with his supplier. Alex begins living out his fantasy by beating Schweitzer with a toilet seat. All of this, though, winds up attracting the attention of Skins. The Skins forces also begin surrounding the Fleming home. However, they're run off when George activates the acid sprinklers. This allows Sean to head out to try to locate Alex. Back with Alex, he begins fighting with a martial arts expert who happens to be the leader of the Skins troops named Chin. Bombshell soon arrives to provide backup and introduces herself to SpyBoy while tossing him a gun called the Magnum Opus. Schweitzer and his gang begin to disperse except for a member named Butch who gets taken hostage. Alex tries to explain that he and Butch aren't exactly friends and that he doesn't care, but by that point the bad guys have already left. Bombshell manages to plant a tracking device on the ship, but once more, Alex is not interested in saving one of his bullies. Bombshell snaps SpyBoy back into being Alex and then back into SpyBoy mode with promises to explain everything if Butch is saved. Meanwhile, Sean finds SpyBoy's cave and begins trying to contact him through his SpyBoy visor. Instead, he finds a message from a woman named Gila who hacked the frequency.
Basically, the backstory here is that the family's last name is not Fleming, it's Moore. Sean Moore was actually a former agent for SHIRTS who left the organization after his wife and fellow agent Anita was killed in action. Sean and his father-in-law George, who was also a former agent, then went into hiding to raise Alex in secrecy to try to keep him out of the spy game.
Bombshell and SpyBoy track down the Gourmet's headquarters. Inside, Butch has been placed in a cage that's suspended over a giant deep fryer. Bombshell tries to suggest taking a stealth approach to get inside, but instead, Alex chooses a slightly more stupid idea by charging straight through the skylight. This results in everyone being captured. Butch finally recognizes Alex, who offers himself in exchange for Butch's life, only to wind up being placed in the cage with him. Finally, SpyBoy offers to join Skins, much to Bombshell's dismay. The Gourmet accepts, though Butch is still toast, so to speak. Alex tries to argue on Butch's behalf, only to blow it and get both of them starting to be lowered into the giant vat of cooking oil. As this plays out, Bombshell becomes subject to a strip search.
Dude! Bombshell is supposed to be roughly Alex's age, which is like 15 or 16, so yeah, she's still a teenager. I don't know why you're subjecting her to a strip search. I mean, okay, she smokes cigarettes, but still.
Butch and Alex then literally begin rattling the cage in an escape attempt. This causes oil to begin spilling everywhere. Bombshell then manages to break free and use the gas-powered stove as well as some oven cleaner to make an improvised flamethrower. As flames begin to spread across the room, Bombshell tosses the magnum opus to Alex, which he drops. Thankfully, Butch catches it and the two break free. Butch and Bombshell look on as Alex begins taking on the Gourmet. Chin the Enforcer then attempts a sneak attack on the two, only to fall victim to Bombshell's explosive glove. The explosion is enough to distract the Gourmet, which allows Alex to shove him into a garbage disposal. The trio of Alex, Butch, and Bombshell then flee the burning building on SpyBoy's bike, where they bump into Sean. Alex's father then helps fend off the remaining minions, and everyone gets to safety. On the way home, Sean promises to fill Alex in on everything.
And that concludes our look at SpyBoy Volume 1, The Deadly Gourmet Affair. How was it? Well, there are some things I really do like about this book. I like a lot of the humor throughout it, I like a lot of the wit, the banter between the characters. I think Alex and Bombshell and Butch do bounce off each other fairly well. I do like that Alex's position is entirely relatable sometimes, where, say, for example, he's tired of getting bullied, so he doesn't want to talk to Lori anymore, even though he clearly has feelings for her. There's some really good banter and stuff like that in there. Also, I would say the artwork is fairly decent. Like, I can understand if you're maybe a little put off by, like, Bombshell being drawn so provocatively, but she is codenamed Bombshell, so it kind of goes with the territory a little bit there. And you know what? If you grew up watching shows like Kim Possible or Totally Spies or movies like Spy Kids or Agent Cody Banks, you would probably like this because it kind of takes it and turns it up just a little bit. That being said, I have to qualify that with if you grew up watching those things, because if you have a kid now and they're watching, say, Kim Possible on Disney Plus, yeah, I don't know if I would give this to a kid at all. The content's a little too adult, I think. Again, subjecting an underage girl to a strip search, smoking, drug dealing, that's kind of a darkish area. Like, I'm not stupid. I know kids in high school smoke. I did not smoke in high school, but I definitely knew a lot of kids who did. So I'm not that stupid, but again, it maybe might not be appropriate for, say, a 10-year-old to be reading. I'm just saying that. And I would also say this is a little too short. Maybe if Dark Horse put out an omnibus of this, like, overall, there's only about 24 issues of SpyBoy, so you could probably divide that up into two 12-issue volumes. I think I would probably look for something that's maybe a little more substantial and meaty. This, on its own, it's a little too bare bones for its own good. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give SpyBoy Volume 1, The Deadly Gourmet Affair, a C. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.